How did you gain respect or trust of college basketball coaches?
Well, a lot of people in their 20s, want to take trips. They want to travel. They want to see the world. They want to go with people to Vegas or South Beach or, Cancun and party. I went to college basketball practices and I went to AAU tournaments. So I would regularly go with business cards, hang out at all these practices, hang out at these AAU tournaments, schmooze, spend time, build relationships, and I would do it. I remember in 2013, it's right after Steve Alford got the UCLA job. I went all the way down from New York City to a tournament in Virginia at the Boo Williams complex. It was probably 7 hours each way. And I just remember that's what I did for the weekend. And I was there all weekend and all the coaches were there. And, you might chop it up for 10 to 15 minutes, but, one game you're talking to Tom Izzo, one game you're talking to Jay Wright, one game you're talking to Coach K. And there had obviously been some relationships with these people. But, the more they see you, the more they hear from you, the more they see you're going to try to be fair, you're going to be objective, and you're going to be balanced in your reporting. There's a better chance of getting them on a podcast, which you have, getting them to obviously do a Q&A or talk about their team. And then obviously when you start doing more in terms of assignments, when your paths cross again, you hope that the respect resonates.
So what about interviewing them? Like, has it been a challenge to get college basketball coaches to kind of like open up on podcasts and in one-on-one interviews and getting them to say something different or unique?
That's on me as an interviewer, and I want to pay homage to somebody right now who was another great mentor. And I'm sad that we lost him because it was a huge loss a couple of weeks ago. Al Troutwig, who I worked with at MSG, but Al and I worked together on a lot of NBA draft stuff. Al would host the show when I would, work at MSG, and I would obviously bring the insight from the college perspective. And I remember right after the Knicks hired Donnie Walsh, he was waiting to interview Donnie Walsh, and I was sitting with him, and he was telling me how this was a hard thing to do because Donnie Walsh was dealing with like the print media first, and then they were bringing up the television. And he said, it's on me to reinvent the wheel. So what I'm saying is it's on the person asking the questions to get the most out of the person you're interviewing. And this is another thing I want to give a shout out to. I had the good fortune of working with Craig Silver last year on the NCAA tournament, who for years for CBS, has produced, that 3:30 Saturday big college football game. For years it was the SEC, now it was the Big Ten. And we worked together on the NCAA tournament, and he really worked with me on becoming a better interviewer and trying to make sure you're getting more out of the guests. So I'm always conscious, how can I say the least as a reporter, but be in a situation where you're getting the most out of your guests? And what's interesting, Brandon, is there's so many different layers to the job, because being somebody who's concise and quick as a sideline reporter is vastly different than being somebody who is really, really opinionated on a studio show, or maybe different with their opinions and their, points on a podcast, and also different just in terms of reporting on a news story. So I think the more well-versed we can be, the greater chance we have at longevity. And that's something I'm always working on, because the roles you fill are different. And that's obviously, a mark of trying to be a versatile announcer.